A beautiful morning and welcome to Daybreak Africa on KAFTAN television, brought to you here in Ondo State. My name is Glory Emmanuel.
And my name as usual is Ikhonede Joshua. Welcome once again to Daybreak Africa. Now it's time to go straight to our discussions for today. As of January 10, January 11, 2025, the Oyo State government came out to announce to the world that they have selected Prince Omojeje as the new Alaafin for your successor. In fact, that report stated after consultations and divinations, even with the involvement of the Oyo Mercy, they have elected Prince Omojeje to be the Alaafin of Oyo. But then, in a counter statement to this particular move, the Oyo Mercy have come out to say that it was not their decision, as they, on their own parts, as Prince Bagdegeshi to be the Alaafin of Oyo, Lukman Bagdegeshi to be the Alaafin of Oyo. It's been a matter that has been, kind of mercy, because of the fact that people look at the fact that the Oyo Mercy actually holds the rights and the status by tradition to be the ones to elect the leader. But the Oyo State governor says the Oyo Mercy have been playing some games, some hacking pankies. Now that is why they are standing on their decision, and the decision is final. Well, the matter as of today is being speculated that it's at the courts, and we still wait for a final decision at the end of the day to see whether the decision of the Oyo State government will be thrown out and the decision of the Oyo Mercy will stand. It's still left to see. This is a very topical issue for the past 3 weeks, according to all Yoruba stakeholders as we speak, both home and abroad. And today in the studio we have a professor. He's going to be a professor actually, a doctor in history. He's also a very important guest to the house. Dr. Ajisola Omojeje is going to be bringing us closely to this particular issue, giving us an historical background to this. Welcome to the show, sir.
Welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure meeting you, Glory.
Yes, sir.
And Joshua.
Yes,
well,
sir.
Being easy, in French-speaking areas, lecturers are called professors.
Yeah.
In the American clime, lecturers are called professors. And the hallmark of a lecturer is also a professor. So, by the grace of God, I will be a professor.
Yeah,
but I am still not yet
a professor.
I am a senior lecturer.
Senior lecturer, yes. A senior lecturer, to my own perspective, actually, is a professor. That's the way I'm brought up. But let's delve down a bit out to the matter, sir. Historically, everybody knows Oyo Mercy. The body is always in charge of electing the new Alaafin. April 22. Yeah, they are the kingmakers. April 22, 2022 actually was where we saw the demise of the last Alaafin. And ever since that time, the Yoruba land has not witnessed a new Alaafin. It's just been going back and forth. Let me even start from that particular issue, because I know, yes, the Basharu hence the Oyo Mercy. But is this the first time historically we are having no Alaafin for such a long period of time, over 2 years now?
Yeah, it is not the first time. You see, monarchical tussle is such a thing that is present everywhere in the Yoruba climate, and even in the whole world. It is not easy to choose the person that is going to, drive the affairs of the town monarchically, just like that. So there had been a time when Oyo was without a king. When Oyo was without a king, even a substantive king. So one ruled for 130 days, the other ruled for 60 days.
Wow.
And there was no king when it got to the turn. So there had to be an interregnum. It was the Basharu that acted as the king. He ruled then as quote and unquote regent. Because there isn't the regency institution in Oyo, but he ruled there as quote and unquote regent. So that is exactly what they say. But what I'm saying is that there is always a kind of tussle surrounding the choosing of a monarch. Before the demise Alaafin was chosen, it took some times also. And Ebenezer Obe said the other time during Adedakoteju Osho's reign as Oshile of Okeona, he said in Yoruba, he said, "Kò wọ́pọ̀ láàrin Yorùbá Bá a bá fẹ́ jọba kí alátakò má yọjú.
That
So,
is,
it shows that
rare.
there will always be a kind of it will always be a kind of rancorous situation. Between 1974 and 1976 in Ondo town, there was monarchical struggle. When the king Tewogboye that died in 1974, he died, and there was another one to be installed. Before Itiade Adekolure Ajisola was installed in 1976, it became a kind of a dynastic struggle, legal battle, of which Gani Fawehinmi played a prominent role before such a thing could be done. So it's not. And you know, even what happened during the reign of Oba Adesanwoye, that there was a legal battle, and before the final outcome, the king had died. So it's all over. It's a thing that usually happens. So the Oyo case is not.
It's not a new case.
It's not a new case.
Yeah.
It's not a new case. They have to struggle because everyone claims to be entitled to the throne. The Owode family, the Gbadegeshin family from Ladigbolu ruling house, and so it's always like that.
Yeah. So what's the traditional process of selecting an Alaafin, a new Alaafin?
Yeah, the traditional process is that's traditionally the kingmakers will meet. When the kingmakers meet, and then they will ask, because there are royal houses and it has to be in turn. When a royal house present, it is the royal houses that will present the candidate.
Yeah.
But from the royal house now, they will have selected through Ifa definition. That is why in Yoruba they say Ifa ni yan oba, it is Ifa that choose a king. Because Ifa knows more than ordinary person. Ifa literary corpus. Ifa will have, it's just like artificial intelligence that we are using now. AI knows more than ordinary human being, because it will, exactly Meta AI or ChatGPT, it will go through many areas and go through many literatures before it gives you. So Ifa will definitely search through the mind metaphysically, look at the mind and look at what pleases the community, the individual, the king himself, the throne itself. So that explains the reason why Ifa is usually so. So after that, the ruling house will present a candidate. Usually, many ruling house will present and then they will choose.
Okay.
So that happens to be the work of the kingmakers, like you have said.
Okay. So
But how come today we're having a situation where, at what point did political governmental bodies become involved in selecting monarchical leaders for the Nigerian society? Even though we know monarchy is not like the traditional system, is not like it used to be before. Well, at what point did this become the fulcrum of our society?
Yes, it's you see, at a point in time, Nigeria was colonized, and during colonization, the British did not recognize the monarchy. It is not that they don't recognize it, but they use them as a tool to advance their indirect rule. So in a situation whereby the resident places himself above the traditional ruler, to such an extent that there are traditional rulers that were banished from the throne. I hope you understand. Yeah. I just told you before we start the program, we were discussing Alaafin Alowolodu was deposed in Oyo. He was exiled in Oyo following some skirmishes between him and the political this thing. Odema of Ishara, Samuel Akisanya, his salary was cut to 1 kobo in a year, or 1 kobo in a month. 1 kobo, Odema of Ishara. The Olowo of Owo, Alaafin Olowo Lateru Olagbegi, was banished from the throne for 25 years.
That's a long time.
So politics, you know, rubbish the importance of traditional rulers. And what is even more, when before it is it was the collective effort of the community through the kingmakers that will enthrone a king through the Ifa definition, and the staff of office will be given. But now it is the governor that gives the staff of authority to a substantive monarchy in any town, Alaafin inclusive. So that explains the reason. It was as a result of colonialism, and you know, when Nigeria got independence, they just removed the toga of politics from the colonial conquistadors to the new colonial rulers, quote and unquote, because they were ruling using British system of rule. So they just incorporated everything British into the what they call democracy, modern government. So in a situation like that, the king is always, you know, obeying the rules and orders of the political class. So the staff of office, the method of selection and everything, they are just you know, allowing them to, okay, oh, is this what you want? Okay, no problem. But in a situation whereby there is rancor, the political officers who step in. That was exactly what happened even in Ondo between 1974 and 1976, when the political leaders in Ibadan wanted to force a king above the traditional rulers, and they said no. It was as a result of the change in government and another person was there that normalcy was restored. So this case of Alaafin, it used to be traditionally before, but because we are using a system of government that is alien to our own culture. They call it democracy, and ordinarily it should have been communalism.
So that's the African.
Yes, it should have been communalism, but this democracy that we are using is alien to us, and the democracy put the political class at the top of traditional class. So every monarch will have to take a kind of instructions and authority from the political class, which is the government. So any monarchy that doesn't do that is playing with his throne.
It's playing with his throne. But me, are you now saying that definitely the fact that Governor Seyi Makinde announced Prince Owuade, it's going to be a more difficult situation for the Oyomesi, who by tradition are supposed to be the one to elect their particular ruler, because that is the major bone of contention as we speak in Oyo currently.
It may not be. It depends on the situation. You see, when you look at the history, you know that there are some things that is under play there that people might not necessarily know. You need to look at Oyo before before now. You need to look at the history of Oyo. You see, you know, Alaafin Owuade stem more from the Ladigbo ruling house, and Lukman Gbadegesin is from the Ladigbo ruling house, while Alaafin Owuade is from another ruling house. They were both choosing, they both qualified. The thing is, Seyi Makinde might be doing the right thing, but people may not know. Look at it from this perspective.
Okay.
Now, there was a time that Ilorin sacked Oyo. During the reign of Afanja, as Ààrẹ Ọ̀nà Kakanfò, when Alaafin Aole was there, Ilorin dismantled to some extent Oyo. And since then, the Fulani hegemony has been in Ilorin, and they had wanted to take Oyo. So there was a time that this emir of Ilorin, Shita, wanted to force Alaafin Oluewu of Oyo to pay homage to him. He actually asked him to come and place Oyo under Ilorin. But Alaafin Oluewu said no. Alaafin Oluewu ruled between 1833 and 1835. But he said no. And Shita wanted to force Alaafin Oluewu to place Oyo under Ilorin. And then he used a subterfuge. He went through the Bashorun Ailuma. Other Ailuma. Now, he called the Bashorun and enticed him with a very robust largesse. Bashorun came to Oyo and enticed others. Then he whipped up sentiment against the Alaafin to such an extent that the Alaafin was isolated. It wanted to become like the Bashoruga of a thing who killed for Alaafin. Labisi, Agbolu, Aje, Amobi Oju, and Majeogwe until the coming of Alaafin Abiodun. So it wanted to be like that. But the Alaafin Oluewu used another subterfuge. He went to Bariba country and invited Eleduwe, a war mercenary, to come and help him to unseat the Alaafin. And he came with 20,000 foot soldiers. Remember, and he came also with Jato. Jato happened to be one of the big warlords that even confronted the Sokoto Caliphate when it was being commanded by Sultan Bello, the son of Uthman Dan Fodio. You know how mighty they were.
How mighty they will be.
And then they outwitted them. They cannot force the Bariba to pay homage to them. So they came. He instructed them to bring Bashorun, and the Bashorun came, pleading. Now he now told the Bashorun that come. But you say you were more, because he challenged the authority of Bashorun for doing so. And the Bashorun said, no, maybe I'm the prime minister. I'm the prime minister now. You have to carry out my command and go to Ilorin. If you cannot do that, the seat will be hot for you. He said, okay. When Eleduwe came, they forced the Bashorun, and then he asked the Bashorun, come, you know what to do in this time. So the Bashorun went home, called his kinsmen that they should take his life, and he died by suffocation. So Alaafin Oluewu won. They said the Bashorun Ailuma was closer to what Bashorun Akinola now was doing.
That
So
is,
they were you see they were looking at it from the fact that Bashorun wanted to lure them to pick Lukman Gbadegesin, and they said Lukman's grandfather pay homage to the Fulani Emirates. And then they were looking at it from the fact, I read it somewhere, that certain elements from the northern hemisphere were, passing through certain corners to infiltrate and to, make them to pick Lukman Gbadegesin, in the hope that when it becomes the Alaafin, this Sharia of a thing will permeate into Oyo, and Yoruba land will be put, because when they capture Oyo, they have captured Yoruba land. So they were looking at the hands of the Fulani usurpers there, that should Lukman Gbadegesin be installed as the Alaafin, it will be easy for the Fulani to, through him, come to Oyo, introduce Sharia, introduce all this Fulani's culture and system into the Oyo, and you know what happened. So that fear is what makes them to say, no, we are not going to agree with you, and that let Seyi Makinde intervene. You cannot rule out such a thing. Look at the story that I've just told you. There had been a sign and a signal. There has been a sign. And in a situation like that, one has to be very careful. From an unconscious mistake of an elder, other people learn wisdom. So that is it. So Seyi Makinde might have acted very well, because if he had not acted well, there would have been chaos. Since. So they heralded. Look at what Tony Falola wrote. If you read,
I
yes, if you
watched
read
a
Tony
bit, I
Falola,
listened to a bit.
he actually asked Alaafin that the Alaafin might not know the history. Yes, it may not necessarily matter that he knows, but he called certain professors that he should link with them. Although it is not only those professors, he can also not many other historians.
Many other historians too. Many people came out on social media. We were reading a lot of publications from multiple
and so
sources and all
the
that.
Alaafin should call them, read wide about Oyo, and then, because one should be very careful. If Oyo is sold, if Ife is sold, Yoruba is finished. And Yoruba has a very rich culture, very, very rich cultural heritage that is embedded in their monarchy, on the throne. And Ife, Oyo, they are custodians of such. They are regarded as ancient towns. So that's it.
But me, I believe, because we even had the argument back in school that the traditional systems aren't very relevant again in our contemporary society of today. Looking at the fact that we have more.
Sorry, you said traditional; they are not relevant in our modern society.
That was an argument I had in school back then. So I'm just bringing it back.
Yes, because when you said traditional, I will now ask you, what are you calling traditional? What is traditional to Yoruba system may not be traditional to them in America. What is traditional to them may not be traditional to us here. Even in our religion. Was Jesus Christ a Christian? No.
He was not a Christian.
Was Muhammad a Muslim? No. When they were born, they weren't. They brought it. It came through them. So they said Ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé. Ẹ̀sìn àbáláyé. Did we when Adam and Eve were created, did they meet religion? The religion evolved from culture, from our ways of life. That was when religion came. We only came, we know there is God, we know there are things, and we started worshiping some things that we think they are gods, and that's it. So Jesus Christ, Muhammad, Ogun, Oya, Oshun, they were human beings on earth that did astounding things, to such an extent that when they died, they were deified. They were deified. So that's it. When you say somebody is so, he has medicine, yes, it is because he can perform extraordinary things. Look at Nostradamus. He had predictions that came to pass. Will you tell me that he does not have extraordinary
human abilities?
Human abilities, exactly. That's it. So even those that made this artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence we are created by men.
Yeah, definitely. Human beings created it first before.
And so is it not one power that we use? And so that's it. For God's sake, the person that created us is powerful. What is the machine inside us that is talking? So, and the same machine is inside dog, it cannot talk. So that's it.
I also majorly going into the fact that we have a society now that everything is majorly about the democratic government.
Yes.
Everything is majorly about the democratic society. Everything is majorly about the government of, we have a governor, we have a... So they are the ones running the things.
Because we have imbibed Western ideology. We are basking in the euphoria of Western orientation, and that is why I said we are always, our culture has been bastardized by Western orientation. So we are living in a bastardized, westernized world. That's it. We are living our own. We have left completely our own culture, and that is where you see the culture we are living now. There are two, and the two are foreign. One came through the Atlantic. One came through the Sahara. So it is the Sahara that wanted to superlate themselves on Oyo now. They are using many subterfuge that look come. if we are able to pin down their king. They were even saying that Lukman Gbadegesin has relatives that is Fulani.
But don't you think that that is just a relative kind of statement? You know, they call it conspiracy theory. And all that, because many times things like this sometimes manifest especially in the period where
conspiracy theory has an element of truth in it. There is no way 100 lies can be without an element of truth. It may be conspiracy theory, but if you leave an ember of fire to smolder, it will become a conflagration. It will become a conflagration. If you give leper a handshake, he will want to embrace. You try it. When you see a leper, Glory, give him a handshake.
Glory won't try it.
He will want to embrace.
Glory will definitely not try it.
So,
Glory is Glory has skin goes actually.
So that is it.
Very well. So, time is against us for this particular segment, but when we are back, we'll discuss more on how this conflict can be resolved without any further chaos and, you know.
Dr. Omojeje is still with us in the studio, and we are still looking majorly at the Alaafin succession and the controversies that surrounds between the Oyo Mercy and the state governors in Oyo. Now, I wanted to even ask a question because one of the things that even prompted me asking about the traditional institutions and the relevance actually was because of the fears that emanated from how the speculations of the Fulanis, you know, trying to get a bit of infiltration. And sometimes I ask myself a question that this has been happening for some time historically, an issue between the Bashorun, especially who has to do with be the head of the Oyo Mercy, the power they wield, and sometimes being against the Alaafin of Oyo, or to a very large extent always wanting to influence who becomes the Alaafin to suit their own narratives. And over the years, Oyo has been having this, you know, though they call it checks and balance in historical this thing, it's just like the Senate and the, you know, the executive we have in Nigeria as we speak. But don't you think it's getting to a point where the presence of the Bashorun as a body in the Oyo Mercy is becoming more overbearing to the stability of Oyo as a kingdom itself?
Oh yes, every leader will want to assert its authority, and then everything that one does, he will have his own intention of doing it. There is no way in which one will not do certain things that will please him more than others. So when you see a person manifesting a kind of character, he has his own motive for doing it, his good side of doing it, even if it does not conform with what people want. So that's exactly. For instance, look at Bashoruga. Bashoruga will always say, and Alaafin did this and that, even though he may want to assert his own authority. His selfish interest, his egocentric ambition is there. Look at the one that I told you. So that might be. But the principle of checks and balances put it in such a way that even if the Bashorun is at the helm of affairs in the Oyo Mercy, it is not that he will dominate the Oyo Mercy also. The Oyo Mercy will say no. Bashorun, it can be advised also. And that is exactly what you are seeing playing itself on it. So the Bashorun may want this, but other authorities, thank God that the governor is more than the Bashorun. Now, it's even more than the Alaafin. That's the governor. He can say this Alaafin might be, this Alaafin might not be.
Yes.
And that's exactly. So the people in the town, there are many other persons in the town that knows more than those that are kingmakers. There are sage, there are elderly people that will say, come on, the way things are going, if we allow these people to go the way they are going, it is an ill wind that will blow nobody any good. In such a situation, there are some spies will go and meet a higher authority, and the higher authority will say, that was exactly what Alaafin Oluewu did at that time, between 1833 and 1835, during the atrocities of Basharun Ailumo. It's exactly what the people did by informing Seyi Makinde. And Seyi Makinde has acted very well, if it is true, because in order to douse the tension, let us put a person that will balance the equation.
So you feel Owade will balance it?
Yes, that will balance. And he has done it now. The Alaafin has been installed.
So now that it's a court affair, do you think it will change anything, even when he has been installed?
Yes. It is now the duty of the court. That is why in the court system, they will say, Ibijos will be remedium. Where there is wrong, there must be remedy. And so, now, it's in court now. The judicial people, they are right-thinking personalities, and then they will look at the constitution. They will do their findings, and then they will give the right judgment. That's it.
Do you think it will not be influenced in any way?
Well, you cannot rule out the power of influence, but I'm sure they will do what will suit the purpose of the town. Not really the Bashorun, because the Bashorun and the Oyomesi, they are body, one institution. The Alaafin is also an institution, and then the people. Both of them are working for the good of the people. So the people are what the court will look at. Now, because if it becomes war, it is the people that will suffer. When two elephant fights, for instance, Owade came from Canada, so it will not be too difficult for him to fly out.
I heard of the fact that most of the Alaafins are always coming from abroad to rule. Is that true? You just said something that makes me remember that they're always coming outside of the country. Like, they're not based here. They don't really know what's going on here.
Most of the
traditional rulers
in this period.
Yeah, they're always coming
even from the other beginning.
They're always coming from abroad to rule.
From time immemorial.
Whoa.
Would be king were known even when they are born. And for fear of them being killed, they will have to take them to another place for tutelage until they are matured.
Yeah.
And then they will be brought to the throne. That is it. So it is not that they are going abroad. Very many people are abroad. They may not be abroad, they may be elsewhere. But they won't stay in the town.
Like Oni of Ife, USA.
They won't stay in the town.
Oluwo of Iwo land.
Oluwo of
Iwo land.
I will teach you about
He came from
Even
Canada.
the Obong of your town, or he did them to farm of your town, they will not stay where their father is. They will stay elsewhere until they are matured and come to.
I was about asking a tricky question actually, looking at the fact that the kind of human character status needed to hold some kind of offices. You made a statement where you said Ifa is mostly the one that elects the king, being the one who has the all wisdom. And many times I'm baffled at the fact that Ifa says this, the humans make a controversy about it. I remember I was at a bank here in Ondo, actually. I was at the bank with my friend, and we were just at the bank trying to withdraw funds. Then I was using the opportunity we've not seen in a long time. And someone came to withdraw a cash, and he was talking about the fact that I was going for a meeting. He's an Ifa priest actually. And my friend just made a statement there. I said, how do you guys even cope with lies? And the man said something, made a statement. He said, Ifa kin paro in Yoruba. That Ifa kin paro, àwọn ènìyàn tó ń túmọ̀ fún ló fi irọ́ sí. That is, Ifa does not lie, but those that interpret for him are the ones that includes the lies in their. Then I asked myself a question: that why then will you even in the first instance put people that will not make the words of your deity stand by being there. Looking at the fact that I remember one of the publications I read when this whole controversy started, and one of the accusations made was Ifa said something. Yet this was a jab to even the Oyo Mercy themselves, that Ifa made a statement about something, they are, because of some influences bringing out, and I made a comment on Twitter myself and said, but why will you do such a thing? Why will you even make someone of that kind of status? Don't you think punishments should be meted to even people that tries to, manipulate statements and orders from deities? Even down to that was even with the Christian religion, with even the Islam. That's why we have the popular terrorism that we have today. So don't you think it's kind of very worrisome that we have human beings manipulating the words of divine beings in matters that are this controversial?
Yeah, the fact is, human beings are dynamics. We are being tossed around by what we will eat. There are some people when they see peanuts, they will change their mind. So that's just it. Like I've said, if I paro, it will state what he feels is best for them. But the interpreters might be influenced, and why they are influenced is best known to them. So that's it. In a situation like that, the explanation cannot be more than that. The deities cannot tell lie.
Yeah.
Because they speak the mind of God concerning what happened, and they must have looked at varieties of things: the person, where he come from, the society. But in a situation whereby they don't want such a thing, they will bring many varieties, and then they will choose the one that best suited them. So whatever happened to the society,
the society's problem.
The society's problem.
Yeah.
That's exactly what is making us to be. It's just like scientific postulations that are changed. So that's it.
So with the way things are becoming chaotic and the rest, do you think that there will come a time where all these government bodies will not want to involve themselves in selection of community rulers and paramount rulers and the rest of the traditional rulers?
There is no way that the government will not have a hand in the choosing of a ruler, because it is the governor that will present staff of office. But it is the people that will say, this is the man we want. But in a situation whereby there is a hiccup, this one is saying this one is saying this, so the government will look at the best candidate based on the best advice given to him by his advisors. He always has advice. And then he will act. So
is it this selection process of because the immediate past Alaafin, the one that transitioned, happened to be the oldest, the one that stays longer on seat? Why do you think it took a whole 2 years for this selection to be made?
It's because of the hiccups that is there now. It's because of selection. They said they want this. They said no, they don't want this. So this one will want to be, this one will want to be. It's always a struggling this thing. They have to struggle for it, so that the best will come.
Let me just ask a question as we gradually crescendo on these particular discussions. Now, where I'm trying to head this towards is bettering our traditional institutions for the sake of our growth as a society. Like, what best can then the government do at this particular, so that controversies like this don't we know definitely selection processes can be very tedious because families grow, families expand, and people that are entitled to thrones, they become more. But to make processes like this more transparent, processes like this more better, so that our traditional institutions can be well preserved and serve the society better, what then can the government do to ensure processes like this are more seamless and less tedious for people at this particular time?
I don't think there is anything that the government can do that can prevent dynastic struggling in Yoruba traditional monarchy. Because even in the family, there might be two contestants that may want to. So the best thing is to rely on what Ifa say. But you have also said it now that the interpreters of what the God says are also being worked on, and then they misinterpret. So it's a kind of a situation that is difficult. What the government can do is at best to do. For example, look at Ondo system. Ondo system put it in such a way that this ruling house, there are certain ruling houses. Now, when this ruling house present a candidate, and after the demise of that, another ruling house will present. It is from that ruling house. I learn now that in the Oyo system, in the Oyo controversy, there are two ruling houses. They don't belong. I don't think they belong. Do they belong to the same ruling house? If they belong to the same ruling house, well,
it might be easier.
It might be easier. But if they don't belong to the same ruling house, at least they should try and identify the ruling houses that are, so that when one goes, the other one. For instance, look at the Ogboru Shijuade came from the Ogboru Olodo, and then this Ogunwusi came from Giesi. So, two ruling houses. If this one rule, at the expiration, another one will also rule. So it can be like that. So the government at best should try as much as possible to let Ifa speak. It is the Ifa, and they should try as much as possible to select a priest that is honest. So it is still traditional system that can use. They can place a kind of a system that will prevent them, maybe punishment for offenders, for any priests that do otherwise. If that is done, at least it is because we are not using our own traditional system effectively. The consequences are there if you go against the God's wishes, whether we like it or not. Whether you are a king or not, if you go against the God's wishes, the God will know when and how to punish. But because we are mixing traditional system with Western orientation, that is why everything is becoming what it is. And until we go back to the root, let go back to the root, so that effective system will come.
So that the effective system will come. And for the sake of those that are how they are like saying that, okay, why is it even a big issue? Particularly, we have the governor, we have this, we have that. Now, I just want you to just, maybe a minute, just enlighten us a bit on how important the traditional systems are to our society, despite the fact that we have a democratic system in full operations. Yeah,
thank you. You see, without the monarchy, certain things cannot be done. Whether we like it or not, the towns and communities all over the world are governed by gods. And to appease these gods, need a person to direct their affairs traditionally. We emanated from traditional system. It is from the traditional system that this modern politics comes in. So, for instance now, to ward off diseases, the king must appease the gods. There are some deities that require the presence of the monarch to make certain sacrifice, whether in the daylight or nocturnally. So in a situation like that, then the traditional system is different from political system. For instance, the chairman of a local government is saddled with the responsibility of managing many towns and communities. But the king manages one town, and he knows the deities to be appraised and all other things. So it's a kind of setup that put emphasis on certain person to do certain things, and in the absence of that, then there will be chaos. So that is why traditional monarch and traditional institution is very important. Even more than, and we emanated from it before politics starts all over the world.
And is there a way that it can be infused together, even at this particular?
The two cannot be fused together. For instance, can the Oshema will be governor? There was a time when they put the traditional monarch as president of a native court. They removed them. There was a time they put the traditional monarch as the local government chairman. They removed because the two cannot be put together. There's a difference between political system and traditional system. Traditional system has to do with the king romancing with the people, romancing with the gods and deities, making sacrifices and making some supplications to the god so that good things will come to the town. But political appointees are saddled with the responsibilities of bringing out or bringing in modern things politically to the people. So they are two different things.
Why I even asked that question was because of the United Kingdom, actually. You know, the United Kingdom has, the monarch system is still very operational. The political system, the prime minister is still very operational. So I was thinking, we can get reports in Nigeria that at least these bodies can, and it's not just going to be ceremonial, but they can still have some very effectiveness, effective doings. But then, it's the way the Nigerian system is, we've copied to a very large extent, and we don't even know our way back into certain things that could be done in our society.
Yes, we have allowed Western orientation to erode our culture. So we don't know which way to go. Like Sonny Okosun, which way, and so we don't know whether to. You see, in Britain they practice constitutional monarchy, and the role of the monarch is entirely different from the role of the government. It's entirely different, and the monarch has a say even in the government. But here we romance with America, we romance with the British system of government, and then we are trying to rubbish our, and then we are now again we are bringing back our traditional system, but we don't know. That's why I say which way. But may God help us, like people used to say.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Very well.
Thanks so much, Dr. Ajisola, Omojeje, for being a part of this discussion. We really appreciate a lot of what you said today. And yes, thanks for bringing us to light with many of the things that has to do with the whole situation with Oyo State. Prince Owade actually has been installed, but then the case is still in court. So we're still looking forward to see what actually happens, what actually becomes the outcome, the Oyo Mercy and all that. And I hope this situation doesn't get more messier than it already is. But we will be bringing you more updates as time goes by on this particular development, on the developments that comes along this particular story. Once again, thanks so much, sir, for being a part of this.
We said a lot today. I'm thankful to our guests who made everything really segmenting for us today. But then Joshua is a more Yoruba than I am, so I think he knows a lot more.
That is the misconception many people have about me. Many people think I'm Yoruba.
But you are more. I didn't say you're Yoruba. I said you are more Yoruba.
Yeah, I'm more Yoruba. I'm more Nigerian actually, because my case is very unique. You know, born in Yoruba land by parents that is from, both are from the south. So.
But you were bred in
yeah,
Yoruba
born,
land.
Bred, learned the language, learned the system, understand.
So I'm right anyway.
To an extent. But then it's one of the things that we have to see. We need to still look more into what will become the outcome, the final outcome of this particular move. You know, modernization has brought a lot to even the monarchical system of the country. But still, let's still see. We'll keep bringing in further reports on this particular matter as developing stories manifest on this issue of the Oyo Mercy versus the state governor of Oyo State, actually based on the selection of the new Alaafin. Though in Yoruba land, we are very excited that finally an Alaafin is going to be on the throne. But then it's still left to see what becomes the final decision as we speak. But we will meet again on Daybreak Africa. We'll meet tomorrow particularly. My name still remains Ikhonede Joshua Deji.
My name is Emmanuel. Until tomorrow, stay informed.